Paul Whelan, a U.S. citizen and a former Marine like Trevor Reed, has been imprisoned in Russia since 2018 on charges of espionage. And Brittany Griner, a professional basketball player, has been held on drug charges since February of this year. Yesterday, I asked Governor Richardson what he thinks the chances are of them being released soon.
I think it'll take a little time. And, you know, there are 40 other hostages around the world, families. My foundation works for the families, and we move and try to secure the release of hostages because of the families. But we work with the government, with the State Department, the White House. But at the same time, you can't be totally pessimistic. I think this is a good sign. The Russians actually, here's a time when the tension is so high over Ukraine, over now the natural gas shortages in Europe, that they made this deal right now. Maybe they're sending a signal. Maybe they're ready to talk. I'm not sure. I don't think so, but I think it's good news for Brittany and for Paul Whelan. And I'm going to do everything I can to get them out.
We will have to wait and see if and when that happens. I want to bring in Jonathan Sanders. He is the former Moscow correspondent for CBS News and a professor of journalism at Stony Brook University, and the author of the book, The Russians Emerge. And also with us, Laura Ballman. She is a national security and global affairs expert who spent nearly 2 decades serving as a U.S. intelligence officer in Europe, Central Asia, and also the Middle East. Laura, I want to start with you. What are the options for people who are being held in jails in other countries? I mean, surely not everyone has access to the governor to help. What do those people do?
Good evening. Thanks for having me on. The first thing American citizens should do is contact the consulate. When you travel overseas, memorize one of those telephone numbers. Call, say, hello, my name is so-and-so, I'm an American citizen, and I'm being detained here by XYZ. There is a problem in Russia for any Americans there because we no longer have consulates. There used to be 4, so the only place to call would be the embassy in Moscow.
And Jonathan, you lived in Russia for a long time. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I had friends vacationing in Moscow, bragging about what a great place it was before everything broke out in Ukraine. Yeah. Would you even consider going over there now?
I would, Brian. I've been going to Moscow in good and bad situations. Everyone says this is the worst time in the Cold War. Well, I was there when Ronald Reagan called it an evil empire. I've had all kinds of different experiences, but I'm not your normal American. I speak Russian. I may have more friends or had more friends in Moscow than I have in New York. Most of my friends who can have left. The others are more or less waiting for their children to finish the school year before they escape. Russia's losing its middle class, and without a middle class, you can't have democracy. So Putin's undoing some of the things that really got him into government to start with. But yes, I would go.
And Laura, you just heard Jonathan mention, I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a different perspective. I think anytime you have to escape from a country, it's probably not a good time to go there. And I'm not being flippant, I'm being serious. The geopolitical context has changed in such a degree that I think it's very dangerous. We've seen, for example, in Iran, used to be that dual U.S. Iranian citizens would travel back and forth without any problem. Now there are at least 5 Americans that have been detained, and this is a pattern. It's not just 5 random tourists, they're dual citizens. So there are some parallels here. I can say, in my experience, the first time I went to Russia was in 1995, and the most recent time was 2016. I felt, even though it was closer to the Soviet era, I felt an excitement in the mid-90s in Moscow that when I went back in 2016, there was certainly more wealth, but there was also more tension, more surveillance. I would definitely not recommend going to Russia right now for an American citizen or a dual citizen.
And Laura,
Unfortunately.
I agree with
before
Laura.
the war,
I think she's right.
Yeah, let me just get in there, Laura. Before the war, I think there was a certain excitement that people thought, oh, not a lot of people go to Russia. It might be kind of exciting to go there. But when you think about Trevor Reed, I mean, is it just a vicious cycle? Are they going to just be arresting more people on bogus charges, hoping to do prisoner exchanges, hoping to, open the dialogue with the United States? Is that something we should be concerned about right now, Laura?
Well, I think that anytime there are hostilities between any nation state, there's also an interest at all parties to have some sort of contact, to have some carrots. That could be a prisoner swap. That could be some sort of cultural event in a third venue, like UNESCO, for example. I think that in this particular situation, we have to remember does not appear, and more will be revealed in coming days, but this does not appear to be a classic espionage spy swap. This appears to be a Department of Justice and DEA matter, which in those cases, you're right that the individual is not necessarily as important from the Russians' perspective, that particular individual. It's more what he or she represents as a bargaining chip.
And Jonathan, yesterday we were all so happy to see those images of Trevor Reed coming off the plane in Turkey and getting on the American plane and now back on U.S. soil tonight. Do you think this is good news for the other two American hostages there? Do you think this might be a good time to negotiate and get them out too?
Oh, I think that each one of these cases separate. I think that his parents did the absolute right thing. They went to the president. They got to the head man. And it's odd that whenever we have times of real tension between Washington and Moscow, there always seems to be some kind of prisoner exchange. We've had these things blow up summits. I remember just before the Reykjavik summit that it almost got postponed because the Russians arrested Nick Daniloff from U.S. News and World Report, and we nabbed a spy at the United Nations. This goes on a good deal. I'm actually glad to see that an exchange went through because it's a completely separate channel. But you better believe this went all the way to the top. And Mr. Putin approved this for whatever reasons he has in his crazed mind these days. And I think he's crazed by doing so badly in the initial stages of this war.
Yeah, surely it went all the way to the top. Let's hope that we get some good news for those other Americans soon. Jonathan Sanders and Laura Ballman, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.